Hello and welcome to Live from the Eagle's Nest from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's National Conservation Training Center near Shepherdstown, West Virginia. We're looking at the beautiful view to the north from the big sycamore tree where the eagle's nest was located. Looking towards the grove in the center is behind our daycare building. But we often refer to that, and we might see the eagles in there today. They're in the area, they're doing well, and so we're here to talk about the eagle's nest and what happened this past weekend and answer as many questions as we can. So thanks for joining us. I'm Randy Robinson, the Outreach Coordinator here at the National Conservation Training Center. We want to thank all our viewers and supporters, thanks to the Outdoor Channel, the Friends of the National Conservation Training Center, our production team here in the studio, Bald Eagles 101, the Eaglet Monsters, and everyone who enjoys watching this great pair of American bald eagles. Thanks to our longtime viewers who have been here for more than 20 years, and our brand new viewers. Some of you may have just heard about the nest. It's gotten a lot of publicity online and over the media in the last few days since we did lose our big original nest Saturday night. So that's what we're going to talk about and explain what happened and sort of give our best ideas of what's going to happen in the future. And we also want to, so you go ahead and send your questions in anytime. I have a whole list of questions here to answer from Deb Steck and other folks who've already sent them in, but you can also put them on YouTube Live. There's a little chat room in the lower right, and I'll be able to see them here. So send in your questions anytime. And we want to say a special hello to our school groups, all the teachers, the homeschoolers watching. Welcome and thanks for joining us. We know that a lot of you have been watching the nest this winter and spring, and it was very upsetting to see the nest go over Saturday night, and we want to offer our condolences to all the students, especially the younger students who have a hard time processing what happened, and we'll talk about that too as we go on. We've got some questions about that. So Rob, if you could, we want to start off with a little video here from Deb Steck. And this is a nice video that Deb put together of the young eaglets. And then we'll take a closer look at the tree. But this was actually last Saturday, April 19th. And it was a beautiful day. It started out as a beautiful day. That's the female, Bella, coming in there. She just brought a fish in. There's the three young eaglets. They were right around 4 weeks old and doing very well, very healthy. But that particular day, we had a lot of warm weather, and we knew that there were bad storms out west, but they weren't predicted to be in this area at all. The day was peaceful, but about 10 o'clock that night, a very sudden and unannounced, unpredicted wind. There were no warnings. This wind came up. Some people meteorologists say they were straight line winds, or a derecho is another name for it. Not a tornado, but very powerful straight line winds, about 75 miles an hour. It all happened very quickly. Right here locally, we didn't have any rain or hail. Some folks in the region did. Trees were snapped, power lines went down. But right here at NCTC, we got that big gust of wind, and that lifted the big nest that we're looking at here. That's the main upper nest, and twisted it and then just threw it upside down to the ground. Unfortunately, the three eaglets all died. We got out shortly after that. My colleague Jim Siegel and myself came out with flashlights under the tree. We were hoping to find the eaglets alive. You know, we assumed they might be injured. But unfortunately, none of them survived. It's a 90-foot fall. So that's the bad news. The eaglets are gone. The good news is that the adults survived and they have a lower nest. And we'll take a look at that a little bit later on. But Bella, the female, was on the nest. She went down with the ship, so to speak. She was there when the nest went over with her eaglets. And she only escaped at really the last microsecond. We just saw a blur of her flying off when the nest was, upright or upside down, I should say. And she could have gotten hurt very badly. She could have easily broken a wing, but it's very fortunate. We're all very happy that both the adults are in good shape. We saw them back here just this morning. We've got some nice video of that from Paul Kolnick, but we appreciate Deb putting this video together of the young ones there. So Rob and Brett, could we look at the wide field cam view? Let's give folks a sense of a bigger view. Now this view is not streamed. It's a live view, and there was just a little bird went down there. But this is only available here, and it doesn't stream live. But that's the big tree, the sycamore tree in the center. And you can see the old barn on the left and some of the fields. That give you a general feel for this. This is on the west side of the NCTC campus. And Brett, if you just go a little bit closer and just progressively move in, we'll get some better views of the tree. Now this is, we're operating on some presets, and we'll just keep going in. So that's the lower nest that we're beginning to see here. And if you go in a little bit closer, Brett, that tree, by the way, is about 100 feet tall and well over 100 years old. And the upper nest, we're beginning to see where it was. If you could keep going closer, Brett. About 5 years ago, we knew that the upper nest would not last forever. It was there for 22 years, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, especially after you see all that was supporting it. It was there for 22 years. It was started in 2003. Our first pair of eagles here laid their eggs in 2004. Then in the fall of 2005, we put the first camera up there, and people were just amazed at what they were seeing. If you go a little bit closer, Brett, we got those first views in 2006. It was a very good year. We had 3 young eaglets, and they all hatched, they all fledged. And again in 2008, 3 eaglets hatched and fledged. 2007 in between was not a good year. It was very wet and rainy and cold, and none of the eggs even hatched. But through the years, it's been a very productive nest. We've had over 45 offspring that have fledged from this nest. So, that's very good odds, in the world of bald eagles. So I started to mention about 5 years ago, we knew the old nest wouldn't last forever. Bald eagles' nests do go down. They don't, they're not engineered to last forever. 22 years is a good long time for a nest. There was a nest up near Pittsburgh that went down last summer. There was one near Washington, D.C., Dulles Airport, the Dulles Greenway nest that a couple of years ago, it slid out of the tree. In that case, the young ones were old enough that they were almost ready to fly on their own, and they were okay. But here, unfortunately, last Saturday night, we lost the 3 of them because they were nowhere near able to fly. They have to be about 12 weeks old, and those little guys were only about 4 weeks old. So they really didn't have a chance. So 5 years ago, getting back to the lower nest, we thought we would put a crude platform in there. And I want to mention that we only go up in this tree during the fall when there's no nesting activity. We would never go up there during nesting season. We don't want to disturb the eagles any more than they've already been disturbed. But in the fall, we'll go back and look at this again. But what we did 5 years ago was we simply laid some large branches across what we're looking at is the biggest and strongest part of the sycamore tree. It's a very healthy tree, although the limb holding the nest itself, the old nest, the original nest, has been dead for some time. So we went down to about 15 feet below the older nest that fell, and we put these cross pieces in, just a few of them, and we figured the eagles would eventually take advantage of it. And sure enough, they did. Just last fall, they built up that new nest. And at that time in the fall, we weren't sure which nest they would use. So we went ahead back in October and we mounted a new camera. Our friend, Kyle Friend, came out. He has a tree service truck, and he went up and mounted a new camera there that's looking onto the lower nest. And that's what we call Cam 3. At any rate, they built up that new nest. And then, to our surprise, they went ahead and used the old original nest, the upper nest, this year. And everything was going well. The eaglets were healthy until this big wind came up on Saturday night and ended that long history of the nest. So that nest has been around NCTC almost as long as NCTC's been here. We're all very sad to see it go, especially with the young eaglets in it. So, Brett, if you could go up to the maximum close-up on where the upper nest used to be. It's just about 15 feet up in the tree. And there it is. That's, you can still see, if you, a little kind of hard to see with the glare of the sun out there now. This is a live shot of the upper nest, but you can actually see the camera up there on that sort of middle branch. And the branch that held everything up, the old timers will know, that's the perch that we look at. We call it the lookout post, but there used to be a second, smaller lookout post, and that's really what held the entire nest in there. And that's when that 75-mile-an-hour wind hit, it snapped that old, the shorter post, and that's what was holding the nest up. Once that was gone, there was nothing to hold that nest up, and it went over. So while we have the field cam up, Brett, if you could do a southwest view, we'll give folks a little more view of a wide angle and what it looks like to the southwest side of the nest. So it's a big open field. You can see the eagle tree, the nest tree in the background, and the lower nest. Sometimes, if you're on the chat room, you'll hear us or see us refer to the babysitting tree. That's that greenish tree just a little to the right of center. That's where the eagles like to go often at night. They can see the nest very well from there. And last night, actually the last couple of nights, both the adults have been in that tree. And then, Brett, if you could go to the daycare tree, we'll end up with the daycare tree and just give a shot of that's the tree behind our daycare center. And they often like to perch in that tree as well. And we can actually get that from our field cam. So, like I said, the field cam is not, it doesn't stream. But Rob, if you could go back to the main tree cams, we do have 3 cameras up there now. And this is the view looking at, again, that's the lookout post on the right. Now we're looking at daycare. That's the small building you see on the right. And those are the trees behind daycare that we just saw another view of those. So we keep an eye on the eagles during the day, and if we see they're in a particular place, we try to move the cameras to where they are. Now, Rob, if you could go to our wide-angle view on cam number 2, and that'll give us a view a little to the right. Now you see that's the main limb that held the nest up, and you can see that sort of darker brownish-colored part. It doesn't look like it here, but it's sort of horizontal or flattened, and that's where the nest sat. And the eagles often like to perch on that upper nest. And now, Rob, if you could, and that's the buildings of the National Conservation Training Center in the background. The Potomac River is just behind those buildings, and that's, of course, where the eagles would go fishing every day. And that's where they hang out most of the day now that the young eaglets are gone. So, Rob, if you could look at cam 3, now we're looking down onto cam 3, or onto the lower nest, and it sustained a little bit of damage. It's minor damage, really. When that upper nest fell, it clipped the edge of the lower nest, but that's almost cosmetics. You can see a few of the sticks in there, and some of the bottom of the upper nest, the old nest, being 22 years old, it kind of turned to compost, really. And that you can see the remains of some of it in there. But when Jim and I went out last Saturday night, the nest, the upper nest, the old one was pretty much obliterated. The wind was so strong it scattered that nest, and it was just sticks scattered on the ground, and we did find the young ones there. But in the background of this nest, right in the middle, that is actually the limb going up that held the old. Now you see two big limbs. The one on the left with the blue cable, that blue cable is our Ethernet, the cable that goes up to the cameras on the upper tree, where the upper nest was. The limb to the right, the big one in the middle in the background, that limb is actually dead, and it's been dead for a long time, but that's what held the old nest up there. And that's why about 5 years ago we put those limbs in the crotch of the big tree, like I said before, biggest, strongest crotch of the tree, and that's not going anywhere. So we will inspect it again in the fall when we go up. We'll most likely move the cameras around, reposition them, and see if there's anything we need to do. In the meantime, most likely we're going to see the eagles back in that nest. We did see them there during just this morning, and Deb and Paul posted some nice video online, and we'll look at that in a little bit.